Previously on Alpine Carnivore. On today's show, we're on day 5 of a 10-day mountain mule deer hunt.
Finally, the fog's clearing out here for us. So that second deer just came out of the bush, and he's definitely a good buck. He's a nice steer. I mean, he's got some mass, he's got height.
It's early November, and Lynn, Trav, Cheeze, and I are in a 4-point or better mule deer unit. The snow is coming down hard, and Trav is trying to determine if the buck Lynn has in her sights is legal.
He's mating or he's mounting. This buck's only about 150 yards, literally right at camp. Just don't know if he's quite legal yet. There's 3 for sure. He might have a little kicker. Trav's just trying to suss it out here on the big lens. But he has 2 on top there or no? I know. I just see the 2 at the front there, but he hasn't turned once yet. No. He's locked on. I see him stomp there once or twice, but I think he stopped. He's twitching. I wish that would be more in focus, but that's snow. Please be legal. He's not legal, unfortunately. He's 2 on one side and 3 on the other side. He's got to have 4 points, so. Would be perfect though. I mean, he's literally right there, just under 200 yards.
Just when it started snowing.
Yeah. Well, just glassed up, I think is the first buck of the morning. I could see his rack through the binos, but in true mule deer fashion, you see him for 10 seconds and then he disappears. He went into a stand of heavy timber, but that stand of heavy timber is open all around, so we're anticipating he's going to cross one of those clearings at some point. I haven't gotten the spotter on him, so I don't know if he's a legal buck, but I can see his rack through the binos, so it's a good sign. It's probably 1,400 yards away. Okay, so we're pretty sure this is a legal buck, but we got to get in closer to figure it out. So what we're going to try and do here is Chav's going to stay here in glass. We're going to hike up. There's a trail up here on the ridge. It's just over 1 kilometer, so it'll probably take us about 40 minutes to get over there. And then we're going to do some hand signals back and forth to try and figure out where exactly this buck is by the time we get over there. And hopefully he's still in that same general area and we can figure him out and make sure he's legal. And if he is, I'm going to get Lynn here to put him to sleep. Looks like just the ridge trail just up here. Not too much of a trail, but we got about 1.5 kilometers to go to get in line with the buck. And then we got to drop down about 1 kilometer to get into him. So I need to move in.
As far as hunting styles are concerned, this trip encompasses all of my favorite things. It's a spot and stalk style hunt during the breeding season, which makes for action-packed, full days behind the glass. Now, as an added bonus, Trav planned this entire hunt for us, So we're hunting a new country that I've yet to explore or even look at on a map. So just figuring out the lay of the land and filling in my mental map of the area is half the fun for me. All right, we just hit the end of the trail. It keeps going a little bit, but it starts really getting tight. But if you look up here, it's all real nice, burned. That buck is about 600 yards over this ridge, so we're gonna slowly get down there, glass. It's about almost noon now, so he might be bedded up somewhere. So we really gotta take our time, just pick this hillside apart so we don't bump him. But there's a lot of deer sign in here, so we might even see another buck. The terrain here is open, with lots of steep valleys and long narrow fingers, and plenty of places for big bucks to pop out of that always keep you fully focused in the glass. Oh, I got a bedded deer. I think it's a doe. Yeah, there's a couple pines in there. She's just straight across, right down in that patch of pine trees. Alright, well, we didn't end up relocating that buck, but the last point we seen him is about 300 yards that way, just over this ridge. So instead of kind of chomping through there and potentially blowing him out, we know there's a big river there. He's not crossing the river. And there's a pile of does just up here on the ridge. So chances are, it's about 2:30 now. In the next couple of hours, he's probably gonna come out and go check those does. So we got ourselves set up here, great glassing vantage point. We're just gonna have a little bit of lunch here, wait for him to come back out. As the day progressed, we saw a few does feeding off in the distance, but no sign of the big chocolate horn buck we were chasing.
Well, it's the morning of our 6th day out here, and we decided we're going to pack up and move camp. We're going to glass for a few hours here this morning, and then we're going to head over to the ridge that we were on the other evening. That's where we've been seeing most of the deer activity, or most of the big buck activity anyways. So we're going to break down camp here over the next hour. Unfortunately, it's Lynn's last day here, so she's going to head out once we pack up camp and drive back home.
Since we only had 4 days left until the season ended, it was time to change things up. So we decided to split up the group. We drove Trav across the river, and we set him up on a ridge where he had a commanding view of the bowl where we last spotted the big chocolate horned buck. All right, so we decided to change it up a little bit. We took the truck down this crazy windy road here, and we were originally camped over there on that far peak. So we hiked up over the peak, jumped in a truck, and it's about an hour and a half drive all the way down into here. So a couple days ago with Lynn, we hiked to this peak right here, and we saw a ton of mule deer sign. And from our old campsite, there was just a bunch of, like most of the deer that we saw were up here on this ridge. So what we decided is to split up. Trav's gonna be over here, and he's gonna be glassing this entire bowl. And then Cheese and I are gonna go back around. We're gonna hike back into this bowl over here, and then we're gonna glass this whole side. And then we're gonna use hand signals, talk to each other when we spot some deer, and then kind of point it out. It's much easier to glass across the river into each other's bowls, so that way we can glass the most area and hopefully pick up more deer. Just trying to find a place to set up camp. We can see Trav now on the other side of the river. But before we do, we just kind of want to do a bit of scouting in this zone. We just found some pretty good rubs here, some scrapes, and now we're just walking. We're going to walk on this ridge line. We're probably going to locate some more scrapes as we go, just a buck mark in his territory. I just kind of want to figure out exactly the route that he takes so we know where to be glassing in the trees before we set up our camp, so we can have the best view of where he might come out, where we can catch glimpses of him. We've been camping over there on that far ridge now for 5 days, and we've been seeing a lot of deer over here, and it's one big buck in particular we're calling chocolate horn buck, and he's been chasing those all through this area. So we just located some of his scrapes as we're coming up here. So what I like to do is get to know the buck before we set up our camp. So he's been running all over this hillside, but during the day we lose him. And what's happening is up here, he's got a whole section. And if you look on these trees here, if you see this blue line, this is his trail that he's been walking, where he's got rubs set up all along. And he's got scrapes all over the trees. So you see this patch of timber here. What I'm thinking is this is kind of his home zone that he's claimed. And then all the does that are coming in here during midday, that's when he's kind of coming in here and stirring them up, because they're coming in here to bed. But in the mornings and evenings, we're catching them out in the field. So I want to set up my camp close enough to this area so in the mornings we can glass, see them down in the clearings, but then in midday when we lose them, we can come up here and we can either sit or we can walk his scrape and rub trail, his area that he marked out of his territory, so we can do something productive during midday, and hopefully we can have higher success of running into that buck. We got a young buck with 2 does. They just, as I was glassing Trav's side there trying to pick up deer, he just snuck into 50 yards or so coming down the hill behind us. I had my big hat on, so I couldn't really hear that well. And I heard something, so I took it off. And when I did, he just stopped. He snort wheezed, spun around and ran up the hill. He stopped up on the ridge, stood there for about 30 seconds, but he's only, I think he's only a 2x2. So, but nice to see that they're moving. Kind of sucks that we spooked them though. Should have been paying a little more attention to my own side instead of just trying to find traps with deer. Oh well. We've been glassing here now most of the morning. Haven't really seen too much. We saw 3 deer right off the hop, and then we got snort wheezed by another one, but other than that, not too much going on. Trav on the other side of the river though, he just gave us some hand signals that he's seen a buck. He didn't go like this, he just went like this. So I don't know if that means it's a legal buck or it's a big buck or a small buck, I'm not sure, but we're gonna go and check it out. And then he said there's 4 does over there as well, so there should be 5 deer, and they're only about a kilometer away from us, so we're gonna head over there and go check them out. There's another one. It's a buck. I don't know how big he is. Okay, that doe just went over the ridge. Okay, here he comes. He's a boar. Yeah, I'm gonna shoot different. Okay, are you ready? I'm gonna take him. Oh, yes, sir, Cheesy. Yes, sir. Oh, we just came up over this ridge and we just saw this doe jump up and we heard something else in the bottom. So I was like, okay, I'm getting ready. It's a lone doe. It's probably a buck. And sure enough, here he comes, just trotting up the side. Whew, that all happened fast. We didn't get the big lens on him, so I hope that footage was good enough, but holy man. Day 7, Cheese. Day 7, buddy.
This afternoon there.
Oh yeah, what time is it right now? It's like 2 o'clock. Trav's got another buck down there that he was signaling to us to go and have a look at. So we just decided to come over here, have a look, and we were in here yesterday and it looked real nice and it snowed a bit, so we seen some fresh tracks, so we just decided to follow them a bit. And sure enough, oh, that was nice too, 120 yards or so, if that, broadside, just domed him. Dude, look at this buck. We found him. Chocolate horn. This is the buck that we've been after all week. God, we got him. He is a stud. We saw this buck from like 2.5 kilometers away the other day. That's what made us decide to move camp and get over here. He's just a beauty buck. Heavy, dark horned, solid 4x4, and he's a stinky old boy. Oh man, thank you, buddy. Thank you. He is a tank, and he stinks. He's rutting hard right now. Just chasing does, man. That's what this mule deer hunting's all about. You know, you go out in October, you might not see a deer like this the entire month. You come out in November and the bucks are everywhere chasing. This is why I just love late season mule deer hunting so much. We found this spot finally. I've been looking for a spot like this for a long time. Out in the mountains, nice burns, tight terrain, just rocky with a lot of this nice grass in here for them to be feeding. And we've been seeing just a pile of deer in here. Trav's on the other side over there. He's gonna be a jealous cat. He can't come over here. We're not picking him up until tomorrow, but he can see us right now. Thanks, Cheese, bro. Thanks, man. Thank you. I've been waiting for a buck like this for a long time. It's a full week here. This is a hard week put in for this guy. And we got it done. Oh, he is a beaut. Okay guys, well we got the deer all loaded up here. And now we gotta get off this mountain and over to our spike camp. It's not too far, maybe a kilometer or so, but it's pretty rugged going. So we're gonna take our time, might take us an hour or so to get there, and then we'll get set up for tonight and we'll see you guys in the morning. Well, it's midday, we got camp all set up, and Trav's kind of on a water mission over there, so I stopped glassing. I figured it's pretty good time. We should probably cook up some of these tenderloins. So I pulled out the stove baffle and kind of rigged it up into a little bit of a cooking plate. Just like that. So we're gonna cook those tendies right up on here. Gonna get this stove piping hot here and make us up some little medallions. It's my favorite part, you know, just cooking up the tenderloins on the mountain. Just love it. All-time #1 favorite cut of every single animal right here. All right, Well, it's heating up, it's sizzling up. We got one test piece on there right now, so give that a few minutes, but smelling delicious. Okay, without ruining this thing or burning my hands, I'm gonna try and get this off of here now, because these are done. Try a little deer fat. Wow. It tastes like candy. Jeez. Try that. Oh, that's delicious. It's like candy. Usually, whenever I would eat deer fat, it's like waxy and it's usually off the ribs. So that's where I got my impression of deer fat. But this fat off the top of the back, this is phenomenal. I'm really impressed with this deer fat. I've only ever tried the fat from the ribs on a deer and it was terrible. And this has completely changed my opinion on deer fat. You know, it's funny because the only reason we're using this deer fat is because I have nothing else and I was kind of desperate. But it's through trial and error that you learn these new recipes and tips and tricks. So today's new tip is deer fat is delicious. And you can use it to render down to cook up your tendies.
First muley in the mountains, of course. Thank you, Mitch. Cheers, baby.
Next time on Alpine Carnivore.
10 days chasing muleys and I didn't tag out. That 2-point and him were gonna square off. They were both swollen necks. The last 8 bucks are the best. My luck is about to change here.
There's buck tracks right on top of Trav's camp. His rifle's gone and his bullets are open.
And a 4-point buck just stepped out right beside me. That's cool. I thought it was done, man. I'm happy with this guy.